Hey, hi there. The White Hats are back.
Indeed.
Dr. Will Coleman here. I'm Dr. James Wanless, and we are about bringing the path, the great spiritual traditions of the world, into our world today. And with Dr. Coleman over here, a longtime friend of mine who started out actually in Memphis, Tennessee as a Pentecostal minister,
Yeah.
right?
Grew
Oh
up in
my
a Pentecostal
gosh.
church and eventually became a Pentecostal minister.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you went to Berkeley,
Well, first
theological,
I went to Decatur. That's why I became
Decatur,
Presbyterian,
Georgia. Oh,
Decatur,
became a
Georgia.
Presbyterian minister.
Yeah, went to the seminary there, and then
Yeah.
after I completed my degree there, then I came to Berkeley.
Then you went to Berkeley, and that's where we met
Ph.D.
when you were up there in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've reunited. We're actually here in Los Angeles, so where I live, and Dr. Coleman lives in Decatur, near Atlanta, the original Atlanta.
That's right. The origin.
Here. So, Will, what are you into these days? What's going on? I mean, what's your interest and your curiosity, and what are you teaching these
Yeah,
days?
well, as you know, I teach theology, philosophy, religion, and more recently, I have been doing some courses in African spirituality, West African spirituality.
West Africans.
Vodun and Ifa and the derivatives of it, Mokumba, Candomblé,
Wow.
Santeria, Nokumi.
These are, wait a minute,
Voodoo.
what language is this in?
Oh, the language would be the language of Yoruba, but the
Yoruba, which is
the-
part of Nigeria?
Nigeria, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. But the derivatives can be found throughout the islands.
Oh.
The ones I named off are in Spanish and
Oh,
French.
really?
Yeah.
Caribbean. I mean, the island. Is that the islands you're talking about?
No,
or
I'm talking about the different forms of Ifa, which comes from West Africa, can be found in Brazil as
Oh.
Macumba, Candomblé, in Puerto Rico as Santeria, and
Oh, really? So
Cuba
these are,
as Lokumi. Yes.
but they're all derivations of
Combinations of Yoruba, of Congo, and primarily Yoruba, Congo, and also ancient Dahomey of Benin.
Dahomey.
Yes,
Wow.
spirituality.
That's. I mean. I just don't know much about that
It's
at
amazing.
all.
Well,
I mean,
that's why you're here.
right.
Because
Exactly.
these are amazing traditions that survived the enslavement of Africans
Mm-hmm.
from Africa into this Western Hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them have been, in some ways, blended with aspects of Catholicism. But
Oh,
they've
really?
also, others have retained their more indigenous African connection.
Oh, sure.
So the various Orishas or Voduns or Loas.
Wow. So,
part
by
of-
the way, where can they find this? I mean, on your website or?
No, what I'm doing now is I do a course, an ongoing course, every Thursday evening, in fact.
Mhm.
And so if they went to my website, they could become a student.
And what's the
That's
website called?
www.willcoleman.phd.
COLEMAN. Coleman. PhD.
PhD.com.
Okay.
And there's a contact us link there. They click on that link and then send me an email request. And it's a pro bono class.
Oh, it's a freebie.
Not free. Pro
It's
bono.
not
It's a
free.
scholarship.
I know. Thank you. I'm going to
Yes,
clarify
sir.
that.
That's right. It's
When you
not
give
free.
something away, it's a giveaway.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
there's
It's there.
no
yes,
value,
but
really.
It's
Yeah.
that's right. Illimitable value.
Exactly.
So it's every Thursday night, and
Uh-huh.
I've been doing it now for about 5 or 6 weeks on different aspects, as I said, of West African spirituality and the relevance of that for today, the origins of it, the history of it, the various practices related to it, and it is related also to some of the PhD work that I did, like at Berkeley, discovering and uncovering the deep spirituality and mysticism.
This is
of
West
Vodun,
African different traditions, spiritual.
specifically Vodun and Ifa.
Bodun, how do you spell it?
Vodun. It's misnamed in the West as voodoo, but it's not.
That's
voodoo.
what
It's
yeah.
not voodoo. Voodoo
It's-
is the corruption.
Well,
Vodun
how
is
about
the
that?
proper designation
Wow.
because it means the mysteries
Oh, really?
of life. Yes.
Oh, wow. So what are some of the chief characteristics of that tradition?
That's a mystical tradition. So you have spiritual powers that are represented as the forces of nature, or described as forces of nature, but they're personified. All consciousness is everywhere. Everything has consciousness, not just humans. Humans have
Love
consciousness.
that.
Animals, we call them, they have consciousness. Plants have consciousness. Minerals have consciousness.
Wow.
And the goal of life is to really attain something that's called an Iwa Pele. Iwa Pele means balanced or good character. So
Oh,
everything's about balance. Everything's about wisdom.
Iwa Pele?
Iwa Pele.
Like
That,
Pele, the great soccer player from Brazil?
that name, yeah, similar to that name, but
Similar,
it's P-E-L-A, but it means good character.
good
Or
character.
gentle character.
Uh-huh.
So, in that respect, it would be like any other mystical tradition, let's say Taoism, the way of the Tao, or the way of rectitude, which literature in the biblical Hebrew context also understood as balance and discernment and how to go about one's life individually and in communion with others. So, communalism and communal wholeness is also a very important aspect. But now this communalism and communal wholeness pertains again not just to humans but to all of reality. One of the symbols that's used in Ifa Bodum, for example, is a calabash, which we think of as a gourd.
A calabash, that's a gourd, right?
Yes,
right.
but the calabash contains everything in it.
Right.
And everything in it is essential for life, and everything in it is good. What we make in terms of our own decisions can be balanced or unbalanced. But the goal is to maintain balance, and to be in harmony.
So those are
within
core
yourself.
values. then.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's
Okay.
no absolute good or evil. There's no devil. There's no hell.
How good.
None that's necessary, because if you understand karma, if you understand that what you sow is what you will also reap, you can also preemptively do and sow that which is good in order to reap the same as a consequence of your life.
Well, that's why. I mean, that's so connected with nature, right? And the natural
Because
way of being.
It's based on observation of nature, both nature around us, that these laws, principles are operative, and nature within us. See, it's that whole concept of the macrocosm and the microcosm are interconnected.
That oneness.
That's exactly, absolutely. There's only one.
Well, what happened? I mean, from your point of view, philosophically, and as a historian of spiritual tradition, what happened in the
dualism?
Dualism
Is the whole idea that there are two. There's maybe one reality, but there are two antagonistic forces.
Got it.
And these forces are not in complementarity, but in a unending battle with each other.
Okay.
And once you slip into that dualistic mode, then you run into these problems we have of good.
You have
bad.
war. You have
ultimately, yes.
Right.
Good, bad, up, down, right, wrong.
Right.
And
Either or thinking, good or bad, or bad.
Exactly. Either or rather than both and.
Right. Both and is really the key.
It is the key.
I mean, even in our languaging.
Precisely.
Wow. So this is a very, God, what a wonderful.
It's a very advanced metaphysics.
It's advanced.
Ancient
It's
and
advanced. And going way back to
one that we need now.
Our roots in Africa. But why
Our
do we
origin.
need this now? What do you say about that?
Oh, we just said it, because that helps on a social, economic, political sense. You're not restricted or bound by your point of view as the only point of view that needs to exist.
Good idea.
And you are encouraged to be more discernful in what you are doing, i.e., to practice wisdom on a daily basis.
Practice wisdom.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
You do it based on experience, or based on observation, based on what you learn, based on what is best and most appropriate in a given situation.
But so
rather
there's
than having absolute tenets or laws that are
rules.
unbendable.
There's no golden
There's no flexibility.
Right.
Well, the golden rule is to say it's just that: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That is the good that you'd have them do unto you.
Right. True.
Love the living one with all your heart, might, strength, and then love your neighbor as you love yourself. So self-love preempts the idea of hate, and the practice of hate, and the practice of exclusion.
God, that dualism just runs through all the problems
It's
we have. I mean,
it's conditioned. It's not that it's innate. It's a form of conditioning, and I think it's also a form, crudely, of social engineering. We come here open-ended.
Right.
And receptive.
Right.
And then we
then what
forces
happens?
Forces that are historic, forces that are personal, forces that are biased, shrink us down to a place where we believe that life, even though we experience it not as such, we begin to believe that life is either or. We forget that there are infinite possibilities.
Possibilities.
That we can and are called to participate in the dynamism of life.
So is there, do they have a particular practice? I mean, in terms of, is there a meditation or going to a church or anything like that?
Yeah, nature's church.
Ah,
Yeah, nature.
nature.
I mean, yeah,
Like here we are in the
yeah,
trees and the
yeah.
sky and the sun. So this is church.
These are our, this is life.
Right.
You know, yes, there's a place and there are rituals that one can participate in at a gathering.
Uh-huh.
But the takeaway is that whatever you're doing in that closed space applies to your daily life.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the takeaway. So you discover, rediscover, and you affirm a communal worship context experience, and then that's what you take in and live. You live that
Beautiful.
life. So that life is a liturgy. Life is a worship.
Well,
experience.
that's the practice. Yeah,
That's
right,
the
right.
practice.
Well, it's
The
this
application.
is all this written down, or is this oral tradition?
Both. For many years and centuries, of course, it has been primarily what we call oral, but that's not exactly right either, because the inscriptions have been in the dances and the songs,
Oh, the dances.
and the chants and the rituals. That's a form of West African inscription. So when
Really?
we say oral, that in itself is a Western bias, that if it's written down,
Right.
it's literary. But
Right.
no, if it's inscribed in the body through movement, it is also literary. But it's literary, and literary function now is through the body movement,
Right.
and through the passing on of the tradition, through liturgy, through ritual,
Right.
through
ritual.
repetition. Then there are increasingly some bodies of written material about these traditions,
Right.
but
right.
it still remains.
But how do you
also
study them there? How do you?
both. I began my studies. I began my studies in one sense all the way back in the Pentecostal church that I grew up in, which had these retentions of it.
Really?
Yes, it had very strong retentions, and then
This
more
is the
formula.
Pentecostal.
Yeah, African American. They called themselves sanctified back then. The
Oh, okay.
sanctified church.
Oh,
That was a
okay.
whole process you went through, of really initiatory process.
Right.
And there was a spiritual disciplines, spiritual practices. Of course, everything is in the language of Christianity, but underneath that language of the essence of an African orientation. Then, more formally, about the same time we met, I began to do some serious studies in graduate school. And then in my studies, I would
Right.
have many, I call them recollections and revelations,
Right.
that
Well,
drew
how? I
me
mean.
more and more and deeper into
Oh, totally.
the tradition itself.
No, absolutely.
Charles Fanler initiated to both in
Well-
Ifa and Vodun.
Well, so how is this incorporated into our American world today? I mean, are there actually groups of people who do this, or is there?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. There are places where it has been quote unquote underground because it was not an official, recognized religion. And it has been so maligned and distorted by propaganda, silly
Right.
movies and things of that
Right,
sort.
right.
But no, there's been a long standing current of this tradition throughout history because it came with the African people who came here into this hemisphere.
Well, how did it get converted or bastardized or whatever into
Oh, no.
voodoo and all that kind of stuff?
Negative propaganda, exactly that. So the ones who enslaved Africans looked at these spiritualities. They had an ulterior motive. They had their own agenda. So what is the best method to subjugate something or to diminish it? You demonize it. Therefore, people don't even really probe the depths of what it actually could be or mean.
The demonization.
There you go.
That is
That's it.
really the key. That's a
right.
key technique strategy
It's a brilliant
that we see
insidious
all the
one.
time in politics today.
Of course. And well, those politics then. The politics and the economics that justify
Right,
the enslavement
right.
of millions of Africans
Right.
and the diminishment of their quote-unquote human nature to redefine them
Wow.
as property, as chattel, as cattle.
Right.
etc.
So they had to rationalize this power and control and domination and all that by taking the core beliefs of something
and turn it around.
and demonizing it and turning it around
Demonizing
and
it, yeah.
just using it
Yeah.
for their own selfish controlling purposes.
But it still continued to work.
God.
It still continued to function underground, and of course now we have a renaissance, a rebirth of it.
A rebirth. So, so kind of to wrap this, little conversation up. So when I leave here with you today, what's my takeaway of knowing something about these traditions?
Be open. The first thing is to be open-minded.
Open.
Forget about the stuff that you've been told.
Thank you.
Let that go.
Okay, I'm
Relax.
doing that. I'm
Let
letting
that
it go. I'm letting it go.
And then the second thing is to be honest in your quest to better understand.
Honest in your quest.
And if you would do those two things, then as was my own experience, more of knowledge and experience of the bona fide expressions of these traditions will come to you.
But you need a little bit of guidance here with this. I mean, is
Thursday night.
Thursday.
Join us on Thursday night.
Hey, you
it's
guys,
bono,
it's an online, is it a telephone
ongoing.
call, or is
it's
it
an online webinar? Once the person sends me a request on my website, then I send out the link, and they'll be able to join right on.
Very cool.
And this will be ongoing.
Yeah,
I have a Monday night series on Bible and meditation and etc. But on Thursday nights, it's on African spirituality.
Oh, I love that because
join us.
It all comes out of Africa to begin with, right?
That's where we came. No, we came from.
Yeah.
If you, in a way of speaking, you are African.
Right. Absolutely.
Everybody is. Now,
right.
Understanding the value and power of that, that's another dimension.
Yeah, but with early life, then obviously there were these spiritual beliefs, traditions, practices.
Of course.
And so we're going back.
Going back to the core.
The core, which is earth-based in
all the way
a lot
back
of
to
ways.
about to say all the way back to Pangaea. You know, the supercontinent.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, and
all back to the formation of the Earth, the planet itself.
Wow. So this is
this is the core.
This is not just some kind of entertaining. Wow, look at that. That's cool. That's different. But so basic.
This is going deep.
Basic to human beings.
This is deep.
Wow.
Into the depths of our own origins. That's correct. The retention of the depths of our own origins and these forms of spirituality.
Wow. Thank you, Will.
Yeah.
I love this. I learned a lot here.
Yeah. I'm always learning too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So listen, you all, don't forget to tune in and give, is it drwillcoleman.com?
It's
the website.
No, again, it's www.willcoleman.com.
And from there you can get into learning about the courses, the Thursday night course.
And the Monday night as well.
And the Monday night as well. He's the real deal. He's the real deal. He's been around and he's bringing it back.
Ashe.
Bring it.
That means it is so.
It is. Ashe.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right on, brother.